Hey, good afternoon, Pyros. What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. This is Keo Boom Daiken. So for those of you who are brand new to this channel, you probably found this video thinking it was just a regular news article or a news video. I shoot fireworks. That's what this primarily channel is about. But this video was definitely concerning to me. I have a huge respect for law enforcement, but I believe the wrong narrative is being placed here. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about what that currently is, but I'm going to play a few clips from this video and maybe you guys can tell me exactly what the heck is wrong with this video, what's wrong with this picture. And before I go into that, we definitely want to make sure, we're always practicing safety, and definitely nobody should get hurt. This has nothing to do with the young girl who was injured. That is a definitely unfortunate situation. However, the police department and the fire department decided to paint a different narrative about fireworks. And as you guys know, there's been a huge attack on fireworks and whatnot. And we have to keep in mind that fireworks aren't inherently dangerous by themselves, just like handguns, chemicals, or anything else. People have a responsibility to play. But the reason why I wanted to show you guys this video is because this one really infuriated me. I have a huge respect for law enforcement and fire department and everything that they do. But one of the things I detest is when an organization or a group of people try to band together to paint the wrong narrative about a story. So I'm going to go ahead and play a few minutes of this clip and you guys tell me exactly what the hell is going on with it.
Power. Today, that warning comes from a 13-year-old with lived experience. 1 year ago, Lavea Mosley lost all of the fingers on her left hand, part of her right hand, and temporarily lost her vision. Just some of her injuries.
I had a sparkler and I lit a M80 that my neighbor had found on the floor, and he gave it to me, and I lit it, and that day it changed my life.
Lavea's mother, Stanisha Matthews, told us they weren't the only family in the hospital for firework injuries that day. It happens every year.
Last year, more than 11,000 people in the United States were injured from fireworks.
Mosley's recovery continues.
I was in the hospital for 2 or 3 weeks, and it was like a long time for me inside the hospital.
She credits her family, coaches, and community for support along the way. She and her twin sister are 2 of just a few girls who play football on the Watts Rams team. She coached until she was able to return as a player. Up next, firework injuries that day. It happens every year.
And he gave it to me, and I lit a M80 that my neighbor had found on the floor, and he gave it to me, and I lit it, and that day it changed my life.
Lavea's mom.
All right, so you heard the clip. You guys could probably tell me exactly what's going on here. Obviously, this is associated with the firework injury, but there's a lot to pull away from this particular video and this storyline. I showed this to a few friends, and they all had the same consensus of opinion. First things first, where the hell was the parental supervision? How does this girl know exactly what an M80 is, and why was she holding it in order for it to get hurt? Listening to her story, she said that she was shooting fireworks or whatever, 4th of July, whatever the case might have been. She was holding the sparkler, and the neighbor, I believe would be an adult, handed her supposedly they found an M80 on the floor and then gave it to her. She lit it. I believe she would have held on to it because that's how she would have lost her hands or had some extensive injuries. And again, we thank God she's okay. But the question is where was the parental supervision while any of this was taking place? And secondly, for those of you who don't know, M80s are illegal in the whole state, not the state, I'm sorry, but the United States. It's a quarter of a stick of dynamite. You can't go to a store and get it. Even if you went to one of the stores, like say a TNT, Phantom, or whatever, Area 51, Red Apple, whatever the case might be, they don't sell those type of fireworks. So this was way above consumer grade, and that's something typically the ATF will come knocking on your door for. Why is the narrative about this have to do with fireworks versus a lack of parental supervision or the responsibilities of an adult? If you guys remember, some time ago, there used to be this huge push. A long time ago, there used to be this huge push about educating kids about the dangers of things in your house. That I remember that marketing plan was geared to kids. Make sure you read the labels in your house. You don't want to make sure that you're not drinking pine sol, bleach, ammonia, or any other type of household chemicals, because you could have something that looks very similar to, let's say, milk, orange juice, apple juice, or something of that nature, and everything that is a liquid is not safe. I don't know if you guys remember any of those campaigns, but I definitely remember them. And so there were stories of teens, and not so much teens, but little kids mistakenly drinking milk and apple juice, thinking, or drinking pine sol or ammonia or some other type of household chemical as though it was some type of regular beverage. In situations like that, that's an accident, right? It's an accident, but it brought to an awareness. And in situations like that, they always ask the question, where was the parental supervision? How did the kid get up under the kitchen cabinet, drink all of this, whatever the case might be? They would typically ask those kind of questions. And judging from this video, this is basically the same type of scenario where you have a 12 or 13-year-old kid utilizing something which they shouldn't be using unattended, because I don't believe kids should be lighting fireworks without adult supervision. And there's no charges for child neglect. I mean, I don't get any of that from this video. Whether there were charges brought up on the next door neighbor, the mother, the parent, whoever the guardian was at that time. But this video is solely dedicated to fireworks are freaking dangerous due to neglect. Because somebody wasn't being supervised. And then why is the other person not being brought up into this? But you have the cops here and probably the fire department using this narrative to talk about the dangers of fireworks when it's an M80 involved. You don't have a conference for something like this talking about the dangers of fireworks when it's an M80. M80 is not even a firework. It's a quarter of a stick of dynamite. What revelation or correlation does that have with fireworks? Secondly, in regards to this whole story, is how do we know it was an M80? How is this little girl? Most street pyros, and if you guys watch a lot of firework videos, a lot of people who are firework enthusiasts, the only time they've ever seen a M80 has been maybe on a YouTube video. And technically, most street pyros and people shooting fireworks in the streets don't have an M80 and don't know what an M80 is, even if it was right in front of them. Most people don't. All you would see is a cylinder, cardboard type device with a fuse on it, and it could be a shell. It could be a shell. It could almost look like a basic fountain, like the ones that you typically would get at a TNT booth. It could almost look like a basic fireworks shell that would be in a tube. That's pretty much what an M80 could look like. I know sometimes the fuses could be directly in the middle of the cylinder wrapped, firework, or typically whatever it is. But that's typically what it is. And one of the biggest dangers of fireworks is you never light anything if you don't know what it can do. That is one of the things that's actually one of my biggest concerns, is lighting a firework and I have no idea what it can do. Now, if I have a firework, let's say a shell, and I put it in a tube, well, gee, I know that it's supposed to go up because it's guided at that point. But if I'm lighting something that looks like a fountain or a cake, you really don't know. I mean, unless you really buy it and maybe read the directions, you don't know if it goes up. If you don't know if it's a fountain, you don't know if it's supposed to shoot at you, especially the stuff that darts across the ground. But this video is highly suspicious in the narrative that they're trying to paint against fireworks, because at what point in time did this girl know that it was an M80? Was it a regular shell that wasn't put in a tube? Was it something else? But I don't know. This really seems kind of odd to me and strange that this video is put out. A child, 12 years old, lit something. Obviously, at some point in time, either before it happened or after it happened, was identified as an M80. M80s are something you light and then you quickly throw it away. But where did this firework come from? Or I'm sorry, not firework, but this quarter of a stick of dynamite come from? And how does that have any correlation with fireworks? I don't get it. And you know, my wife saw this video. First question that came to mind was where was the parental supervision and where are the child endangerment charges? This video says nothing about child endangerment. It says absolutely nothing about the dangers of lighting things. You know, one of the biggest things you could also do is lighting fireworks or whatever around the 4th of July, and you're drunk. But this has nothing to do with the firework as itself. We all know fireworks are explosives. We all know that. But in what sense of the world is an 11 or 12-year-old person holding a firework unsupervised, got it from a neighbor, probably an adult, God forbid it would be a little kid, because they supposedly found it rolling on the floor, gave it to her, she decides to light it, apparently holds it, and received a bunch of damages. I don't get it, but I'm really appalled and taken back at this, that the Chief Anthony Marone, Los Angeles County Fire Department, and all the other public officials would put together this type of campaign about fireworks if this was an M80, according to what they're saying, is a quarter of a stick of dynamite. It is not even technically a firework, and they're lighting this and they're using this as propaganda to tell you that fireworks are bad, when this has nothing to do so much with the firework itself, but this has to do with child endangerment. And the correlation is that you should not leave your kids around dangerous situations unsupervised. Was there an investigation in regards to this? I don't know. There should have been an investigation. This video shouldn't have been put out. You got Brother Man standing here looking all proud with a smile on his face. I wonder if they say, hey, if you decide to be a spokesperson for this cause, maybe we'll drop some charges or whatever the case might be. But this looks utterly rigged and utterly suspicious in regards to what's going on, because again, there are many dangers in this world, household chemicals being one of them, and I guarantee you they won't come out trying to blast Pine Sol, ammonia companies, Ajax, Mr. Clean, or any of these other kind of companies, because somebody didn't do their own due diligence and training in the house and left their child unsupervised. So you guys let me know what you think about this video below, because this one really irks me the wrong way. I know there's plenty of videos out there where we should be focusing on the dangers of fireworks. Like somebody was sitting on their porch, a family, somebody pulled up and threw some fireworks at him, a shell exploded, and that was a consumer-based firework. You could tell it was a consumer retail-based shell, and stuff like that should not happen. But how does an 11 or 12-year-old child get an M80, as they identified it, from a neighbor that saw it rolling on the floor like it just miracled itself over there, gave it to them to light? Obviously, they held it. They had no idea what it was, because if they did, they probably would have just thrown it anyway. And that's not the story. Like who's the next door neighbor? Where are the parents? Are we bringing up child endangerment charges? Where did that quarter of a stick of dynamite come from? There's so many questions here, but yet this whole story is simply about, oh, fireworks are dangerous and why you shouldn't light fireworks. I mean, I've never had an injury. Other than that firecracker hit me almost close to mine. That was me standing far back. But I always light fireworks and run. That is what you do. And again, most of you watching this video probably won't even know what an M80 is. But how many of you would actually light something, you have no idea what the hell it is, and hold it? And then where's the parents? I don't know. There's too many questions, and I wanted to make this video because it needs to be talked about. It needs to be exposed. You got LA County Sheriff Brother Man here, standing there with a smile on his face, looking proud. And I'm sure any one of these men over there calls themselves about anything, where are the charges? There should have been a little bit more investigation about what was going on, because if this was an adult, no adult should be giving a kid firework to light or tell them to throw it or whatever the case might be. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff here that could be analyzed. I'm not going to go on about it all day, but definitely want to put this here on the channel because it appears that wherever this county was, may have been LA County, whatever, it looks like they're trying to paint a false narrative about fireworks when it's really a quarter of a stick of dynamite, and this has to do with the lack of parental supervision. So with that being said, I'll catch you guys later. Peace out. Bye-bye.
And a warning on this weekend leading up to the 4th of July holiday. Fireworks can be dangerous and potentially deadly. That's the message firefighters are sending out in an effort to prevent injuries and save lives.
Eyewitness News reporter Annabelle Munoz is live in Elysian Park, where she spoke with a teenager who survived a horrific fireworks accident that forever changed her life. Annabelle?
Colleen and David, she joined several fire agencies this morning, and they warned of the many dangers that come with the 4th of July holiday weekend, including, of course, fires. The weather is warmer, it's more dry, there's dry brush, but there are also people every year, thousands, who sustain injuries due to fireworks accidents, and that is what this local teenager is warning the public about after she survived one of these major accidents. Every year, fire agencies across the country warn of fireworks danger, demonstrating their destructive power. Today, that warning comes from a 13-year-old with lived experience. 1 year ago, Lavea Mosley lost all of the fingers on her left hand, part of her right hand, and temporarily lost her vision. Just some of her injuries.
I had a sparkler and I lit a M80 that my neighbor had found on the floor, and he gave it to me, and I lit it, and that day it changed my life.
Lavea's mother, Stanisha Matthews, told us they weren't the only family in the hospital for firework injuries that day. It happens every year.
Last year, more than 11,000 people in the United States were injured from fireworks.
Mosley's recovery continues.
I was in the hospital for 2 or 3 weeks, and it was like a long time for me inside the hospital.
She credits her family, coaches, and community for support along the way. She and her twin sister are 2 of just a few girls who play football on the Watts Rams team. She coached until she was able to return as a player. Up next, she plans to take on basketball.
I am so proud of her. I thought it would be hard for her to do, but then she showed me that, you know, she's a soldier. She fought through. She gives everything that she do her best. She graduated honor roll.
And although Matthews says the twins are shy, the family has been outspoken with the purpose of protecting others from more injuries.
I would never want it to happen to anybody else. Make sure that you're safe during the holidays and responsible.
And a doctor who was at this event also warned that something as small as a sparkler can also be very dangerous. It can lead to blindness, and your clothes can be easily set on fire. Meantime, Matthews has set up a GoFundMe account as they prepare to buy what will be Lavea's first mechanical hand, and as she continues to grow the prosthetics that she will need.